Condo owners. So I want to end this. I was going to do a reaction video, but I decided I wanted to do it with this. We'll tap into the reaction videos later on in the week. Condo owners are being pushed out. I am not a fan of condos. I'm not. I got a homie that is hell-bent on trying to get a condo. And I'm like, bad idea. Bad idea. But this is an example of a couple different condos just recently released that they're going through problems. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Check this out, y'all.
Some South Florida condo owners are being hit with six-figure assessments that are forcing them to flee.
The situation is leaving many unable to sell or afford the staggering cost. Local 10 News investigator Jeff Weinseer has the numbers.
Sleepless nights?
Sleepless nights? Every night.
What the heck was that? Hold on.
Nights?
Sleepless nights? Every
Oh, man. I get so distracted.
night.
Toy said, what if you
I don't know
like
where
houses?
we're going to live or how we're going to
We'll
live.
talk about
Howard Konitz never thought he'd be in this situation at 79 years old.
We can't afford it.
I got you, Pete.
We can't afford it. We're going to go broke.
Konitz and his wife Sheila have lived in their 2-bedroom, 2-bath Williams Island condo for 10 years. The retired couple had their financial future all planned out.
Elevator modernization.
That was until they were recently hit with a special assessment.
The total assessment for the apartment we're sitting in is what?
Approximately $224,000.
No way. No way in the world. I remember when the dream used to be for a lot of people to either become snowbirds or to move to a warmer climate when they wind up retiring. I think that the way that the economy is going right now, especially with how people aren't even putting money into retirement, or they have no money saved, or they have no investments in general, I think that most people are just going to work till they die. But aside from that, can you imagine buying a condo, you in a building, right? And you're paying HOA fees, which I just think is just crazy to me. I mean, I understood it when I first started hearing about it, and I got introduced to it back in the the late 90s, early 2000s, because it was a way for you to be able to maintain or preserve. It was somewhat of a tax, a voluntary tax that we all participated in order for us to preserve the neighborhood. You would have it sprayed for mosquitoes. You have the little street cracks. They, go in there and take care of business. It was stuff that you did. And so we was paying a little less than $50 a month or $150 every 3 months quarterly for the HOA fees. But what I see people getting charged for HOA fees now, man, listen, I've seen people paying $500, $1,200 a month for HOA fees. And then when something breaks down, like elevators and all of this stuff, and they got to do all of these repairs, then they spread out the costs, they break it down, and they say, listen, we're going to go ahead and assess you a $224,000 individual penalty, basically, in order to bring things up to code, and we still going to be charging y'all HOA fees.
Dollars.
When you say that number, can you believe it?
No, not at all.
That's on top of their monthly maintenance that's gone from $1,500 to $3,000.
Can you imagine paying $3,000 monthly maintenance for $3,000? And then some people will say, well, I see you, Azrael, say HOA, they could raise the rates of the HOA at any point. They could raise the rates of the HOA at any point. Some people like it because they say, well, it keeps the character of the community and force people not to be able to do, tear up or do certain things. When you start trading the pros and the cons, you got to start looking at it a little differently. I'm going to be honest with you, man. Seriously. Dog, some of the HOAs, depending on how much you put down, is more than a mortgage. Come on, Siri, stop.
Never anticipated to have this escalation.
According to Condo Doc's assessments in Mediterranean Village in Williams Island, where Konitz lives, are as high as $400,000 for just one apartment. Projects budgeted for his building include everything from consultants to roofing, concrete restoration.
Look at this. Look at the assessments. Now, this is all determined by the board. Not by you, by the board. Design professionals, consultants, insurance permits and inspections, administrative costs, soft cost contingencies, roofing. You ain't know you got to pay for that? Yeah. See, you got to do that individually if you own your house. Envelope, waterproofing, and concrete restoration. $3.2 million for that alone. Elevator modernization, $683,000. Landscaping, $151,000. Mechanical and electrical plumbing, termite treatment, hurricane mobilization and demobilization, and hard cost contingency, bank loan fees. So they basically gonna finance it and then they're gonna do an assessment to everybody else, which is above the tune of $8.7 million, and then they divided up amongst all of the people, and you still got to pay your HOA fees. Nah, bro. I'ma just make an informed decision on where I'm supposed to live that ain't gonna cost me as much, and I'm just out. I can't do it. I can't do it, bro.
Elevator modernization, termite treatment, and $700,000 alone for landscaping?
Somebody also told me, well, if you're not able to pay, you shouldn't be living here.
The assessments at Williams Island can't be passed on to a potential buyer. Konitz has had his condo on the market and has dropped the price several times. He was turned down for a reverse mortgage by a lender due to strict condo rules.
Maybe I can give
Even
it
the
away
lenders
for
don't want that junk.
pennies on the dollar.
He is not alone. This listing at the Cricket Club in North Miami discloses a $134,000 assessment. A new Florida law enacted after the 2021 collapse of the Champlain Towers in Surfside mandates increased building inspections and reserve funding for condo
that was
buildings.
Gonna be passed on to the people.
The rules come with a
Once that building collapsed over there in Florida, I knew y'all was going to be in for it. Y'all should have put y'all stuff on the market immediately.
hefty price tag for owners of older
What
buildings.
up,
Have you ever
2K?
seen numbers
No.
like this?
No.
Susie Friedel has been
What
a
up,
realtor
Suke?
for 50 years. She's a mediator for the Miami Board of Realtors and the Florida Supreme
Them places
Court.
be looking dated as hell. You just playing for the location, bro. It'd be low ceilings. Like, man, get me up out of here, bro.
What is the assessment on the apartment that you have for sale?
Just about $290,000. There needs to be assessments.
Who got
The
200?
problem
Who got
is-
300,000 just sitting around, hanging around? I'm broke. I don't know what y'all. I ain't got nothing. It's hard out here for a pimp. Eyes ain't got it. Who got 300,000 just sitting around? Especially retirees. Get out of here with that, bro.
They've done too much at one time. The boards have gotten so nervous about all this that now they're doing everything at once.
There is no comment on camera from the association. In a brief phone conversation, association president Mike Siegel said, quote, "We wouldn't be doing it if we didn't have to. It's not like we're stealing people's money."
You know, the board does what they want.
The position you're in, what do you do?
Pray.
Nope, you're going to get bankrupt. And then people like me going to come in and take it over and then flip it. And I'm going to make a whole bunch of money as a result of it.
More fallout after townhome owners at the villas of Carillon got a letter from their HOA board saying they'd each have to pay $60,000. But last night, a decision on how they would have to pay that money was postponed. And now, 24 hours later, the entire condo board has resigned. Carolina lead Dave has the night off. All of this stems from a recent law change and special assessment. But now, as 10 Tampa Bay's Chris Hurst explains, the new rules weren't meant to apply to owners at the villas of Carolina.
What up, Messi?
We have to educate.
Patricia Stabler is a certified
Don't matter how much education you do. If people ain't got no money, it don't even make no difference.
general appraiser in Sarasota and saw our story last night. She wants to clear up confusion so many have over law changes after the 2021 Surfside condo collapse. In the years since, lawmakers required condo boards get periodic studies to make sure they are saving enough money to pay for future repairs. But the law doesn't force owners to pay up front for those costs, which is what the Villas of Carillon board and its management company approved.
our board would like to have everything funded right now, but 60,000, I don't know how many people have that kind of a spare cash.
No one needs to be 100% funded. That is overkill. And again, that is not the intent of the law.
And the law clearly states, 14 times in fact, that it only applies to buildings 3 stories or higher. All 165 units at the villas are 2 stories.
There are a couple of attorneys who have the opinion that 1 and 2 story associations fall under the law as well. Others say no.
Residents tonight didn't know how or when a new board would be put in place, but those upset over the assessment hope the new board will overturn the vote to pay them. In St. Petersburg, Chris Hurst, 10 Tampa Bay.
Listen, man, it's bad out here in these streets. What I suggest for people, again, is I'm a fan of single family homes. I am. One of the reasons why I like building them now instead of buying them is that I know that A, everything is done right. B, you basically not going to have any maintenance for well over a decade because everything is new. Roof, furnace, cold air. The foundation is phenomenal. You're doing everything right. Everything is waterproof. We're doing finished basements and all of that stuff. And you don't have to do any extras. And so I think that people like new. And I don't even like these builders. I don't. I think that these builders are trash. Lennar, Pulte, I think that they trash. They cut costs. And what I found, and I can't wait to share this with y'all in a Patreon, what I've also found is they finesse y'all a lot. So, for example, the same people, okay, you got the big homes, let's say Pulte, let's say a Lennar, right? And not them specifically, so I'm not going to speak to them specifically, but for example, a builder like Lennar, all right? And what they do is they use the same contractors we do, except they mess them over. So you'll have this large home builder, large, small, whatever. You'll have these large home builders and they'll go into a region and they'll buy all of this land and then they start to clear it out and they get the permits. And so in order for them to be able to recoup costs, because they got to build the roads and they got to add sewage systems and, you know, they got to add water. So if you just buy land that's next to houses that's already built, it's usually water at the street, right? And I might be going over y'all head a little bit, but I'm learning a lot about the building process after I've built my first property, right? I've done the first property that I'm building from scratch. And what the contractors was telling me is that they often at times don't even like working for these large builders because what happens is, first, they got to wait to get their money. Secondly, the builders like to cut costs and skim in order to try to reduce the amount of money that they're putting into the properties, which is why they start to overcharge off all of the extras when you go in and say, oh, okay, well, I want granite countertops and all this stuff, right? And then on top of that, they like to nickel and dime. And what they'll do to the contractors is say, okay, we want you to come in and we want you to excavate. We want you to come in and we want you to put on a roof. Or we want you to come in order to lay the foundation. Or we want you to come in and frame. And then 2-3 months from now, they start to hold off payment. And then eventually they say, well, listen, we only got this budgeted for this. So we're going to send you either accept this or you don't accept nothing at all. So most of the time, the contractors was telling me that they don't even like doing work for large builders because they're not even sure whether or not they're going to get paid for what they agreed to in the first place. And when they do decide to do it, they just don't have nothing else going on. They don't have anything else going on. And so because we pay people immediately and we don't hold them off and we don't have to deal with no banks in order to be able to get a check cut because we're doing it all by cash, they like working for us. But I've learned so much from the contractors as far as how these contracts are built, what it's like to work for these homes. But they contract some of the same local contractors that we tap into, except for we do it differently and we make sure that we incentivize them and we pay them immediately, and so they do a better job for us. But I've learned a lot about it. I'm a fan of single family homes. I'm a fan of newer homes. I'm not a fan of big home builders. If y'all do that, make sure y'all get an inspection. It's very hard to get them to come out and fix the problem that you inspect before you buy the property. It's a lot going on with it. So it's a lot of information. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. As soon as I'm getting done, I'm in the final stretches. We actually was laying tile, or we had the tile being laid just recently. So Rita sent me that picture yesterday, or sent me a video yesterday of the tile being laid. And so we got that popping off. And so that's going in. So in the property and stuff like that. So Yeah, man, we in the final stretches. I think that we probably a month and a half out of being completely finished, and then I'm gonna break that down, all of the costs, do you the before and afters, show you what the receipts are, and then we're gonna go from there. All right. So make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat.